Welcome to another episode of Through the Chair, a legit special. With me today, we have our Senate President Novelle E. Jr. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good. So we'll have a conversation of, I know you only have one committee that you oversee, which is Committee of the Whole. Right. Give us a synopsis of what Committee of the Whole does.
Well, first of all, by virtue of being the Senate President, I have the Committee of the Whole, which really have the responsibility of being able to view and bring into discussion many items that may plague our community. The responsibility of the Committee of the Whole really is to vet certain measures that's been sent down by the Office of the Governor through various governmental agencies. For example, the DPNR sent down a number of zoning changes, permits for consideration, any other special proposal that the governor will be considering will be sent to the Office of the Senate President for consideration. At the Committee of the Whole, we're able to have all 15 members of the 35th Legislature of the Virgin Islands present. At that hearing, senators will be given an opportunity to hear from these stakeholders, the respective stakeholders, in regards to the subject matter that's being considered.
But they don't vote on this though. They just get the information to when we're to further to get to session with the case, you just get that information together.
Correct. The Committee of the Whole serve as an investigatory type environment where we're able to ask those probative and provocative questions to the stakeholders. You can't vote in the Committee of the Whole. Again, once the matter is being properly vetted, then is forwarded to a committee of jurisdiction for consideration.
Okay, so you mentioned some of the stakeholders. So DPNR is one of the on the list because most of the time when you have zoning, especially for the different islands and what's not, so they play a very important role in that as well.
Right, they go out and they they conduct committee meetings, they review the application that may be submitted by the applicant, and obviously you make some recommendation to the Legislature of the Virgin Islands. And this is done by the governor, who will send down the measure. As you know, the governor cannot, can't be a signatory or a sponsor on a particular bill. Right. The bills are moved by either senators or me as the Senate President on the behalf of the Governor of the Virgin Islands.
Great. Okay. Nice. So as this is your second term as being the president, so what are your plans for this legislation?
Yeah, Senate President 2.0, right?
2.0.
I believe that there's so much going on in our community that we have a good opportunity. And one of the things that I really want to be able to do in the 35th Legislature is, again, to look at those priority items. Not the priority items necessarily for the legislature, but more importantly, the priority items for our community and on the people of the Virgin Islands. So I intend to conduct several town hall meetings, bring the issues to the people, have them voice their concerns, their input, and get our colleagues to hear directly from our community members. Once that is done, then we intend, we do have a legislative agenda that we put in. The minority and the majority have a legislative agenda that they'll be putting together. But more importantly, I believe that we want to make sure that we're moving the people's agenda forward. So that's one of the items that I intend to work on. Another area is to really create a level of transparency. I believe that the community really needs to understand what's happening within the first branch of government, and being able to provide that level of transparency for the public to be able to view, understand, be able to listen, be able to query what's happening with the first branch of government. We want to be recognized as the first branch of government to make sure that we're the closest representative to the people. Right. And we want to make sure that we're carrying out those needs, the requests of the people. Obviously, the people will not get everything that they want, but I believe that they have to, as stakeholders, they have to have a voice as we move forward.
Right. So you have some new senators, some freshman senators. You also have some veterans as yourself. Right. And so you have a mix-up. So how do you plan to address, especially with the new senators coming in? I mean, some of them have some backgrounds from various from targets and what's not. So what is the plan to encourage them now to work with this deliberative body? Because we know how it works.
Yeah. Well, I believe that each of our senators represent a unique set of skills. Right. All of them come with their varied background, and certainly they bring that to work with them. And that's the reason why they were elected. Right. Again, and they presented their varied background to the electorate, and the electorate certainly elected them. You know, we have really 2 new senators that have not been in the Senate before, you know, in the form of Senator Maurice James and Senator Ray Fonseca. Diane Capehart, who's also a returning senator, make up the 3rd senator. Everyone else is either a senior or at least a sophomore or returning veteran. You know, so I believe that, and I think the public needs to be, and one of the things that I want to do as Senate President is to be able to go beyond the scenes, right? And utilize media and public affairs to get the information out, because I believe that the public only see us, you know, when we're actually in chambers and in the meetings and conducting these hearings, and everybody get passionate. You know, it's a deliberative body for the purpose of making sure that we get the best out of each other in our, you know, quest to move legislation forward. So being able to view beyond the scenes, I want people to understand that we don't have significant animosity. We're almost like a prosecutor and a defense attorney, where you have both sides of the coins, and then again, it makes us stronger, it makes a bill better, and move legislation, you know, forward critically. But if you look in the past, you'll see that regardless of what side of the aisle that you sit, you know, whether you're a minority or a majority, we come together, you know, when we have meaningful legislation to benefit to the people of the Virgin Islands. You know, so I really want the public to see that side of what happens within the legislative body and the first branch of government, to make sure that they have a full gamut of the understanding of the legislature. Another area of focus for me is really to make sure that we're exhorting our oversight responsibility. You know, we have a number of lagging projects, you know, our disaster recovery, for example, the opening of the hospital annex. You know, we have to really exhort our oversight responsibility so that the public and community could understand, you know, what was transpiring behind the scenes in some of these issues and getting them moving. You know, the governor came before us just recently in terms of the state of the territory, and in it, he was very optimistic about what's happening. I share in that optimism because I believe that I represent hope. Hope for the people, you know, so it's my intention, you know, to then now start to get into the details, the granular of the state of the territory, to make sure that we're actually ensuring that that optimism is met,
and that plan into motion.
Put the plans into motion and make sure that we're successful in doing that. You know, so I don't see the legislative body of being necessarily acrimonious with the executive branch or the judicial branch, but all 3 branches of government really working in sync, check and balancing each other to make sure that we have a refined product delivered on the behalf of the people of the Virgin Islands.
I appreciate that, really appreciate that. So let's look forward for your first 100 years. What's some of the things you want to tackle in your first 100 years or 100 days?
100 days.
For you, 100 years? 100 days, 100 days.
You know, so there is some critical projects that's on the table right now that have been around for quite some time. I just mentioned about the JFL North. We want to make sure that that's followed through. The governor commit that we'll be getting that open in March. We want to make sure that happens. We have a number of people that still continue to have soft blue roofs on their homes. Before we go into the next hurricane season, we have to come up with a collective plan of how we're going to be able to address that. You know, behavioral health and mental health is near and dear to my heart. You know, I've been working on a number of legislation to really move that forward. You know, during the end of the 34th legislature, I was able to move the first comprehensive behavioral health measure forward, and now we want to make sure that that's implemented, because you know every single day we see just so many fallouts on our streets, and we want to be able to really start to make some inroads and address that particular issue and bring some relief, you know, to these individuals. And they represent, you know, our veterans. They represent, you know, some of them are nurses, you know, teachers or whatever, that because of life circumstances, they have gone over to the dark side. So we want to be able to be there to support them.
Right, especially with mental health, for us too, just for us human beings. One thing on the streets, but for us human beings, we have to make sure we take care of that as well.
Post the hurricanes and the pandemic, there's a lot of people that are walking around on edge. Absolutely. It's hard on us. You know, I mean, much less those individuals that don't have the necessary care and support. You know, so we want to work on those issues. WAPA. WAPA continue to be a bone of contention for this entire community, especially our businesses, our residents. You know, there is a game plan in place to hopefully, you know, resolve some of the issues that's plaguing WAPA. And we intend to follow through on that. And within our first 100 days, I believe that we want to develop that schematic, that plan of action that we could start to check off the box and how we could start to see some improvement in the WAPA situation. One of those really represent the renegotiation of that VTOL deal.
Right.
So that is something that we're looking forward to hearing and doing our part to make sure that that's resolved. Our workforce and talking about diversifying our economic development portfolio is not a critical area. I have been working to make sure that we don't put all our eggs in one basket and that we have many opportunities. We saw what happened when tourism kind of fell through. Some years ago with the pandemic, we saw when Hovensa pulled out of the territory, some time back. It just created this deep hole for us. I believe that building our economic development portfolio and diversifying our economy, we could be able to have something to rely on just in case, something goes south. So those are some of the things that we intend to work on. We have a work cut out for us. Housing continue to be a situation as well. I know that the governor I work with the EDA to create the VI Slice program where we're offering opportunities for moderate. We addressed the low income sometime back where we actually provided $4 million. Now we have close to $20 million that will be available for those moderate, those teachers and nurses and those individuals that kind of fall through the crack, so that they could be able to have an opportunity, the American dream, and be able to own their own home. Just also improving our housing stock. Elderly care, elderly abuse, making sure that we have some skilled nursing center available is something that I intend to, within my 100 days, is to be able to earmark some type of a facility. Either we're going to expand what's happening over at Herbert Gregg, at Seaview and St. Thomas, but we have to be able to build. We have so many of our seniors that's living by themselves.
Yes.
And they're not able to care for themselves. They're not taking their medication in a timely fashion. Dementia is rampant. That's definitely. Alzheimer's and other illnesses, chronic illnesses, is really hampering them. So we're really wanting to make sure that there's some skill center that's available, and we also want to be mindful of those caretakers as well, because outside of the issue of the chronic illnesses of our seniors, we also have those caretakers that have to deal with this on an everyday basis. So we're having a discussion about even having an adult daycare, for example, where you could have some place that you'll be able to take a family member that have been under your care for some time now, because you have to go to the bank, you have to do, you go to the doctor for yourself, and be able to bring some relief, at least to the caretakers. So it's a lot that we're hoping to do within the 100 days, but there are 15 of us. If each of us take on a little bit of the load, it lightened the load. And one of the things that I've done and continued in the 35th, that started in the 34th, was the subcommittees, where we're able to have these subcommittees on some of the important issues. We have 3 subcommittees, one on health and public safety, one on GRS solvency and economic development, and the third one is really on energy and infrastructure. So I believe that these subcommittees will have the responsibility, and they're broken down evenly, so that by 5 members on each of these committees, and of course, you could have additional personnel there, but they have the ultimate responsibility of doing the investigatory type review and matters that's important to us, and be able to report the findings back to all of the Senate body.
I think we saw the effectiveness of the 34th, that it did work.
It worked very well.
So I'm looking forward to seeing that as well in the 35th as well.
Yes, we saw it with of course, with GRS. We saw it with the EMS and fire merger. We saw it with the comprehensive behavioral health. So it have worked in the past, and we intend to make sure that it continue to work.
Nice. What about long-term plans?
Long-term plans is that we want to make sure that our infrastructure is improved. We're looking at our road situation. We're looking at building additional schools in the community. We're looking at the build out of the Charles Howard facility. We're looking at the build out of the new hospital. We want to make sure that construction work is being done. We want to make sure that we develop a skilled workforce.
Right.
The amount of money that we have coming through this territory, we can't spend within the next 10 years because we don't have the necessary workforce. We hear all the time about the issue of capacity. Right. We don't have the capacity to be able to build these things in a timely fashion. So as a means of that, we have to be able to import workers from the Caribbean islands, right, or beyond. So that is something that we're working with the delegate to make possible. And we continue to implore all people here is to get involved. Make sure that you're getting the skills. And we're working as well with the Korean Technical School to make sure that there are careers being offered to our young people so that they can be able to get those skills in place and be able to assist and support their families by being able to have a good, decent job and earn a living.
I think, and overall, I think we need a whole rebranding of it. I think times has changed.
Yeah.
So that's the way we look at the job market and what the case be. I think we need to just look at that a different way. Always great to talk to you. Anything else that you wanted to mention?
No, I think it's important that we, implore our people that, in fact, when we come out into the communities with the town hall meetings, is that they come out and make sure that they're participating in the discussion. Be respectful. That's all I ask. You could get your point across, without getting personal. Right. But be able to have that discussion about what you like to see your community, you look like. I believe that, the Virgin Islands, if we make it great for ourselves, right, then certainly the tourists and those people, the transients that come here, will be able to enjoy it as well. Right. So that's kind of the mindset that I have. In addition to my role as the Senate President, I still have a legislative agenda that I want to make sure that we're moving on the behalf of the people of the Virgin Islands. Yeah. So thank you for the opportunity. Again, public affairs and the media is very important to us here at the Legislature because we want to make sure that our community is informed and be able to view and understand what's transpiring within the legislative body, the first branch of government.
We're waiting for the opportunity as well. We want to make sure everybody gets the information. Well, that's what we do. Yes. We want to take care of. So it's wonderful talking to you.
Absolutely.
Pleasure, Senate President.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the interview.
Once again, this has been Through the Chair, the JIT TV special. Have a good one.